Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Alrighty, folks, we're live at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. We've got a couple cameras running here so you guys can see what's going on. My beautiful bride says that this is what I needed to do. To my right, it's kind of hard to tell, but that is Luke from the Bushwhackers. We're live at the Desmond Hotel. Let's see if I turn this one. If you can't tell who that is, that's the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. He's joining us today. Maybe we can get an interview with him, and then right here to my right, you can't see him. That's the back of Dan the Beast. We got all kinds of legends here. Virgil's here. Booker T will be joining us here. Bill Apner's here. Maybe we get Bill to stop by. There's Bill Apner. Maybe get Bill to stop by and talk to us. We're going to be doing a bunch of different lives. We'll probably go live a few different times. If you're in the Albany area, make sure you come by, stop by, and you see us. We'll be here till 1 o'clock from 10 to 1 at the Desmond Hotel in Albany, New York. Meet some legends, pick up some gear, have a good time. Again, this is all through the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. There's all kinds of cool stuff people got. Shirts, they've got a little bit of everything. You can get autographs. One of our prior guests is across the way here, Dave the Ringman. He was actually a referee for professional wrestling for a long, long time. Ken's going to sneak in the camera here. There's Luke with the Bushwhackers, another legend. There's just, you can't beat what's going on here today. A little bit of everything, a little bit of everybody. So we'll be keeping this going live as long as we can. We'll go back and forth. I'm hoping, I believe Susan Sexton's going to be here this year also. We love Susan. She is amazing. She joined us last year on our live. It was a lot of fun. She lives here in the Capital District. And one of the great things about Susan is she will tell it how it is. When Susan and I met last year, she does photography now, but she actually was early WWF women's champion before the change of the name. So she was WWF. She now does photography in the area, but when we talked last year, some of the things that she let us in on about the fact that she was actually one of the early shoot wrestlers for females, and they wanted her to be a baby face, and she just wasn't having it. Maybe we can get her to talk about that again. Just a great opportunity. Again, we are live at the Desmond Hotel in Albany, New York. Make sure if you're in the area, you come by and see us. This is going on from 10 to 1. Here comes Big Seth coming through the door. Maybe we can get Seth to join us here for a moment. He is in his glory. This is where he wants to be at all times, surrounded by his peoples. So we get Big Seth. Also over to my right, and I don't know if he wrestles or not, is the real bad guy. I'm the real bad guy. We got Scott's actual son. Scott Hall's actual son. He looked back this way because he heard me saying I'm the real bad guy. So we'll see if we can get him to come on for a couple minutes. You got a minute? You want to come on? Well, he doesn't want to come on. We thought we'd get him on here, but we'll be live again at the Desmond. I know I keep repeating it, but I figured that's the best way we can get everybody to know. And then later on tonight, we'll go ahead and have dinner with all these legends. My wife and I got tickets. We're one of the sponsors. Well, I think this is the first thing I've ever sponsored. But I guess you couldn't call him Little Sky. Definitely. There he is over there. Oh, my camera's in the way. So we'll keep this going here. If you're in the area, again, come by the Desmond. Try to see who else. Oh, Mr. Funk is here. There's just so many. You just look around the room, and if you were a kid started watching wrestling between the 70s through the 90s, and you loved it. This This was everybody you wanted to meet. This is everybody you wanted to hang out with. So we'll get these folks. They should be coming on over here soon. Oh, there's Joe. Joe's around taking pictures of folks. But just legend upon legend are here. If you have any questions, maybe if you want to ask somebody a question, we can get some folks to come over and join us. I absolutely will do that for you. For those of you joining us, just trying to get some different angles, different folks. Let's see if Mr. Dan will join us for a moment. Maybe Ken can ask some of these folks. When you got time, Dave, we'll get everybody on. Just another one of the. You can't beat being a podcaster. Like, just the options. Kendo, we'll get you on here sooner or later. Well, you might. Look, Ken's going to come on and talk to us about ballroom dancing. I'll take him. We'll take him in a heartbeat. Hey, Ken, will you ask Ted if he has time, if he wants to come on? If you got time, Mr. Ted, would you like to come on? If you got a moment. Thank you, Mr. Ted. I appreciate it. My name's Sean. How are you?
Good, Sean.
Headphones, everything here for you. Alrighty, folks, we've got bellying up to the bar with us today. The $1 Million Man. Like, I got chills actually saying. Sitting next to you and saying the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Saying it, and I will admit, I actually had to make sure I spelled Ted DiBiase about 5 times. I spelled it right because my spell check didn't want it. So, thank you, sir. Welcome to the bar.
Thank you for having me. That's awesome.
You were here last year, weren't you?
No, I wasn't here last year. But this is, I'm inducting Dory Funk Jr.
Are you?
The Funk family is synonymous with professional wrestling. It goes way back. Dory Funk Sr. and my father, wrestling was simply Iron Mike DiBiase, had, to my knowledge, the longest professional wrestling matches. They wrestled 3 hours and 15 minutes to a draw in Amarillo, Texas, in what they call the Texas Death Match in the summer of 1969. And the only reason the match ended was because there was a curfew on the building, and the police came in and stopped it. And I think they knew that going in, that they were going to do it, and it was just limited. But for two men to capture the attention of an audience for that long, they wrestled out on the floor, they wrestled out into the street, back into the building, and they also, because I guess for the business, what we call hardware each other. Some of them they gave each other deliberate punches.
So they were going like the shoot style, actually putting it on somebody.
Yeah, but not the entire match, but yeah, for the purposes, and they had the picture of both of them in the paper the next day. They had great pieces under their eyes. So it was very good for the business. I'll tell you what, because for their feud to go on and on. And every time my dad, this is the days of territorial wrestling. And Amarillo was the base of that territory because Dory Funk Sr. was the promoter, and so you would go to a territory, you'd stay 6 months, a year, or whatever, and then you would go to another territory or two, and then if you went away long enough, come back to fresh.
Okay.
So every time my dad came back to Amarillo, the wrestling fans went, okay, every funk are going to go at it again. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah, and that same summer of 69, My dad's a heart attack guy. I love it, Texas. We're in a match. My mother and my brother went back to Arizona where her parents lived. And I finished high school there. I had signed a scholarship to play football at the University of Arizona. And I turned the TV on one day, and it's the wrestling show out of Amarillo. And they're coming to Tucson. And I hadn't seen any of the Funks for 3 years. I hadn't seen any wrestling until their TV show came on. They thought they were going to try to move to Arizona. So I go to Tucson and walk up and I tapped Dorgan on the shoulder and said, "Hey, long time no see." And he looked at me for a minute. Ted? I said, yeah. So anyway, Dory Jr. and his dad were there at that time. I said, "You're going to be back in 2 weeks. Terry's going to be with us. Come back." And I said, "Okay." Terry talked to me into taking a recruiting trip to West Texas State. And he told me, he said, even if you made up your mind to go to Arizona, he says, just take the trip. Come see everybody. But that's all it took. I went back to Amarillo, visited West Texas State, and I even knew that, even though I had given a scholarship to play college football, and it was at a very small school, and I knew it wasn't going to be pro football in my future, but that was never my first love anyway. My first love was wrestling. And so it didn't take much to talk me in. And there were people back in Arizona that went nuts, basically in the little town where I lived, because they had supported me so much, right? Through the football stuff. Yeah, and now I'm not going to go to Arizona. I'm going to go to Texas. So I probably pissed a lot of people off. But, that was the thing. And so I went to West Texas State, and at the end of my sophomore year, my summer job became a referee. I could referee now. The NCAA hadn't changed the ruling yet. Now you could participate as a professional in one sport and maintain your amateur status in another sport. And back then, once you went and did anything professionally, you were done as an amateur for anything. So anyway, I refereed that summer, and you learn a lot being the third man in the ring too. But I refereed all over the territory. So, and that was Amarillo. So the next summer, in my junior year, Nick Murdoch says to me, he says, "Hey Ted, I'm going to Mid-South." He says, Oklahoma, Louisiana. Cowboy Bill Watson is the promoter there, and he says, if you want to get your feet wet, I think I could probably get you booked. I said, "See what you can do." And so sure enough, he called me. He says, "If you want to start, you can start this summer." So I went to Mid-South in the summer of '75 to get my feet wet, so to speak. At the end of the summer, when it was time to go back to school, back to football, I called my coach and I said, "Coach, I think to let you know this, I'm not coming back." Now from where I am now, I had 1 year of college left.
That's all you had left.
That's all I had left, and that's all, and I had a degree in education. What a minute. I'll tell you who was really mad at me was the person that was the maddest at me was Terry Funk's wife, Vicky.
Really?
Because I was kind of like I'm like a family member with them. Tonight I'm going to induct Terry Funk. The Funk family, my family, go way back. Like I said, Funk Senior and my dad having that long Texas death match. And I just found this out from Dory this weekend. Dory Senior was about to ask my dad to come on as a partner in the territory. Wow. And then he had a heart attack and died. He never knew. And I just found that out. So, yeah. that's how I. So my relationship with the Funks is just it's like I'm like a part of the family. Family to me. I mean, I can still remember being out on Dory Funk Senior's ranch, and I'm riding on a horse with Terry. I don't know. I can't remember how old I was. Terry's about 68. I think Terry's 77 now. And anyway, but I'm riding on this horse with him, and I said to him, Terry, what happens if we see a snake? He says, well, if we see a snake, I'll leave you here to watch the snake. And I said, he started laughing. I said, you ain't leaving me here. But anyway, the influence of the Funks on my life and my career I'm blessed. But I started, and Cowboy Bill Watts will tell you, he learned the psychology of wrestling from Eddie Graham.
Okay.
In Florida. And Eddie Graham is one of the greats. And Eddie Graham will tell you, he learned it from Dory Funk Sr. Yeah. So Funk Sr. was, and they, the Funks in West Texas, they had a 30-minute TV show in just like a talk show.
Really? Yeah. Like about wrestling?
Well, just in general.
Oh, wow.
So, but the Funk name and the Funk name in wrestling is, both Dory Jr. and Terry became NWA World Champions. And to this day, probably one of the greatest matches I ever witnessed was a match between Dory Jr. and Jack Briscoe, who also was an NWA World Champion. But I watched them have a match in Emerald Sports Arena, 1 hour to a draw. And at the end, the people were standing on their feet because they made the match to win.
That's why. I mean, I'm just thinking about the time frames when you're talking about 3-hour matches, 1 hour matches. In those days, and I take nothing away from today, but I always feel like the promo is more important today than the match itself. Do you understand what I mean? And I'm not taking anything away from it.
I do understand. I mean, obviously, the promo, you got to be able to talk and present and tell the story. But, I mean, to me, it's not the same, of course, old school. I'm proud of it, to be honest with you, because, back then, the story was not, it's kind of like if you watch wrestling today, you got things going on backstage, you got things going on in the dressing room, and it's like this 2-hour soap opera. But back in the day, what was important, more important than the promo, was the match. The story was the match.
What was happening in that ring?
Happening in that ring. And, and today, in wrestling terminology, he's like, well, you have a match and then you do a high spot. We call it a high spot, because it's like you get off the mat and then it's something like, you hit it with a tackle. You do something. Well, now it's like the whole match is a high spot.
Right, everything is a fit. Like every guy's got 15 finishing moves. And
yeah, and they're going over the top rope and hitting the floor and bouncing up like nothing happened. So, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of respect for it's hard for me to watch the wrestling.
Really?
It's hard for me to watch it today. And I mean, sometimes I have conversations with Terry. I call him occasionally. Terry's in this, he's consistent living right now.
Okay.
He's, his wife passed away. So, but I love the guy. He'll ask me, he'll say, Teddy, did you see that? I can't say that word on video.
Well, this is a podcast, so you can say anything you need to.
Did you see that shit on TV the other night? I said, Terry, quit watching. All it's going to do is make you mad. Because it's too much high spot. It's not enough. It's not enough for me. It's like I try to tell guys that come to me for advice. I said, when you go into a movie theater, you know when you walk in the door, it's a movie. And people now know when they walk into a wrestling show, it's not real. It's a show. I said, if the actors in that movie present themselves in such a way, they draw you into the story. And for that 2 hours that you're there, they can make you laugh, they can make you cry, they can make you mad, they can make you happy if they're really good at what they do. Well, that's what wrestling used to be. That match was the story. And you got into the story. And most of that story was two guys, obviously it was a good guy and a bad guy, but having a match, a contest where they're on the mat and they're in a hole and they're out of a hole. And then there was the occasional boom, high spot, but then you're back on the mat and you're having it. And that's what's changed. But everything does change. But Bill Watts, and this is back when I was still wrestling, he saw that coming. He says, here's what I want you guys to do. He says, Teddy, you and Terry Gordy, this whole week, we're wrestling each other. He says, I want you to do an hour Broadway each night. An hour-long match to a draw. And he said, he told the crew, he says, all you guys, when you're through with your match, don't leave. He says, I want you guys to watch that. He says, because some of these shows are becoming all high spots.
Gotcha.
He says, so I want you to watch these two guys wrestle and tell the story. And we did the same thing. And it's like, and a lot of people think, well, that might not work today. I guarantee you it would. If you had two guys that were capable of going out in the ring and putting on a match like that, it still works.
That's amazing to me. And I don't want to hold you because I know you're doing autographs and everything. And folks, we're at Desmond in Albany from 10 to 1. I'll be at the dinner tonight with my wife. Will be there, and I can't wait to see that. One of the things I was always curious about is now today, every match is a star. It's 2 stars in every match. There's no jabron that's coming in that was a local guy. Is there anywhere for the aspiring wrestler other than the independent circuit that we used to see? Like there was a guy, and you'll probably remember the name better than I can remember. I grew up in Baltimore. So there was a local guy, Bob Starr or Bill Starr. His last name was Starr. He was a local guy, and I used to watch him wrestle all the time. I only ever saw him win one match. He beat somebody who was a star. They let him wrestle again, and then he got his butt kicked the second time. Yeah. But we don't see those guys. Every match has to be a superstar versus a superstar.
I don't know. Back in the day, a lot of times, on a weekly television show, you would occasionally see 2 stars. Usually, when you saw 2 stars, if there's 2 stars in a match on TV, then they're shooting an angle. They're going to do something in that match to want you to see them at the arena.
There's got to be something big coming because of this.
Something big coming. And a lot of the matches were, like you said, on television to feature your main guys. For them to win, and when you wrestle somebody, you hardly do.
Yeah.
And you don't see that much. And I don't know. I've been out of wrestling for so long. And I know things change.
Right.
Things are subject to change. But the fundamentals of what you do, I don't think will ever change. Bill Watts proved to that week when me and Terry Gordy went and had an hour-long match every night. And again, at the end of the match,
that's a workout.
Yeah.
You're talking. Yeah. I mean, that's what I think people don't understand is that you're talking tying, running, picking each other up, putting each other up. I mean, that's you did a 1 hour workout besides whatever else you were doing for 5 days straight. I can't even imagine the physicality of what that had to be like.
Well, I mean, again, it's like I remember the first time I had the only year I ever had any amateur wrestling was Omaha, Nebraska. I was going to an all-boy Catholic prep school, Omaha Great Prep, and I was on the wrestling team. I was the JV heavyweight because the varsity heavyweight was the state champion. And I learned a lot that year, sure, and I had to wrestle him every day. But you know, in an amateur wrestling match, it only lasts like I think it's 6 minutes. And I said, because when the referee says go, you're using every fiber of your body. Now in pro wrestling, that's not the case. I mean, but nonetheless, to go an hour, I mean, to go 30 minutes, to go an hour, you have to try to time it, and there's an art to it. There is an art to it.
Now, more of a curiosity. I know the stuff today frustrates you with what you're seeing, but would you ever consider any like ringside stuff, like the Jerry Lawler, like ringside announcing if they wanted you to come back, even if it wasn't, WWE like TNA or whatever.
I don't know. I'm not sure how I would answer that.
I mean, because I'm going to be honest, to see the $1 Million Man ringside again, blinged out, that would be pretty amazing.
Well, I did go back, after my physical wrestling years. That was all because of this herniated disc in my neck. And I did go back and I managed I managed Stone Cold. I managed King Kong Money. I had we call it Money Incorporated.
I remember Money.
So yeah, I have managed, but I've never. The only commentary I did, I think it was SmackDown, but I was like the co-host of Gorilla Monsoon.
Okay.
And I did that for a short time, but it was because it was never live. It was always me in the studio, and a lot of it was
voiceover, pre-recorded kind of stuff. Yeah. I would love to see. In my head, I see that entire thing, the entire outfit, the suit, the everything about it that's going on. There's actually my announcer right there, Mike Falvin. He's a local announcer, Mike. He's in the Air Force. I was in the Marine Corps for 20 years. He was in the Air Force. You can't get him a suit, right? Yeah, you got to work with these guys. The Sheriff Corps is just one of those guys. But I don't want to hold you up. Mr. DiBiase, I cannot say enough about how honored I am to have you.
West Texas boy.
We got another.
Hey, West Texas boy. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Manny. Oh. Holy shit. Good to see you, brother. Golly, man. Wow.
How's everything?
Everything is good. I mean, you know how many wrestlers came out of West Texas State? Manny Fernandez, Ted DiBiase, Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, oh my gosh, Tito Santana. Who else am I missing? Kelly Connection, Kelly Blanchard.
If you can pull up to that mic there, Mr. Manny, we'll get you on here. For those of you that realize who this is, Manny, the Raging Bull Fernandez, joining us. We were just talking West Texas. We're going to add a little more West Texas. You get one kid from the Mid-Atlantic here who's getting chills as legends keep popping up to this table as we're bellying up to the bar here at the Desmond in Albany, New York. We're going to be here from 10 to 1. Mr. Fernandez, thank you for coming out and joining us.
Good to see you.
And Manny would tell you the same thing. It's like,
you guys lean into that mic, though.
There's so many guys out of West Texas State. It's largely due to the influence of the Funk family, and God, just about everybody.
Of course, I had the pleasure of Dick Murdoch material. too crazy for football. I got me involved in the business. That's the myself. DiBiase was forward to be a shot on the sideline. Let's take the state universities.
You can actually pipe that off the stand. Pipe it off the stand and they can hold it. Might be easier.
It's been a while for me to get it.
There you go.
Yeah.
But it's great.
I admit, I did it. Yeah, I was doing shots on the sideline.
That's what's Texas for you. It's great to see you.
Well, let me let him talk to you.
Well, I mean, this is just. I'm telling you, I promise you, I'm getting chills just with this.
I did too. I tell you something.
Well, maybe tonight. I ain't never found a bottle I couldn't handle. So maybe tonight at the dinner. You coming to the dinner there, Manny? So maybe tonight, my bride can drive. I drove her last night because we went and saw Chris Stapleton in concert. So I drove last night. So maybe she can drive me tonight. We'll find out. But thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Well, you guys, he's going to do some autograph. Can you stick around for a minute, Manny?
Yeah.
We'll swap out headphones. You got those headphones on.
I want you to appreciate that.
I absolutely 110% appreciate that. You want to throw them on there, Manny? I'll flip this camera this way. And then you can pull that up to you. Just got to get that a little closer to your face.
Yeah, forgive me.
Oh, no, you're good.
I didn't get in at 6 o'clock this morning.
Where are you coming in? You coming in from Texas?
Coming in from Oklahoma.
I got friends that just moved out that way. If you slide up on that mic, if you need to, you'll be good. I got friends that just, I retired out of the Marine Corps after 20 years. A friend of mine retired after 30 years. And his daughter's going to OK, and they moved back out to that way.
Yeah, I got a kid who used to be my caretaker until I got more surgeries to do my things on my own. He's going to be like me and he goes on the military.
No, so who were you with? I saw your hat. You were a Vietnam vet. Who were you with in
UDT in the Navy.
Well, I mean, as a Navy, Navy, never again volunteer yourself.
Yeah, something. I went for the Navy and Marines wouldn't go nowhere either.
So my grandfather was a machinist mate in the Navy during World War II, and he used to always pick on me. He always used to say, you Marines look like real good bellhops. You in our blues. And I'd be like, Pop, I understand. You do realize I should just get you a gray cabbie hat because all you were good for is taking us around places.
Yeah.
We used to pick on each other back and forth all the
We
time.
say all kinds of meetings and jokes about that our Marines and Navy, but they were together as a team.
That's it, 100%. So, Mr. Fernandez, what years did you wrestle from when to when?
Oh, I started in the 70s. I started training with Murdoch in 78. I was off-season with the Chiefs.
Okay.
Coming down to Amarillo. Spent time where I went to college. Because I had great friends there. I had Mulligan, back then, Mulligan. League Murdoch, they had their own territory. Korean territory around Mountain Head. They were around Mountain Head. So I actually started, my first match was 79.
Okay.
79.
And now you were that was Southern District, or was that West Texas?
That was West Texas.
That was West Texas. Okay.
Then after a couple months there, that's how I got I grew out in 74 with David Graham and Dusty. That's when I met Dusty.
Dusty Rhodes?
That was the biggest mistake of my life. No. Boy, I knew what wrestling was all about all my life. I wrestled amateur all my life. Like Dan. We wrestled all our lives. So I already knew going into it. Yeah, the biggest glory I've ever seen in my life was Dusty Rhodes. Really? Yeah. He'd go trip as well. He had to do everything. People that come up and most of the shit Magnum TAs were all kiss butt.
Oh, God, Magnum TA. I forgot all about him.
Yeah, so did I. I hate that kiss. They would suck up to anybody just to stay on top. So I was a candidate guy. I was a rebel. I was an outlaw. JJ was my buddy for a long time. Assistant. I was always in and out of trouble. Never listened to the motors. So, I always loved it. Still do I never seen it as a big glory. I wish it was a like a big anybody. Yeah, right. The greatest line, you know the greatest line I heard
Absolutely.
2 weeks ago.
What's that?
Superstar movement.
Oh, absolutely.
Somebody said, "Tell Ric Flair it's fake, you idiot." I almost fell out of it. Now I was reading that line. I was sitting on my recliner. I like jumped up and fell out.
I met Ric Flair one time. I was working for CSX at the time, the railroad,
Right.
and he was at a bar. And when I first went to take a picture with him, he was like, I can't take a picture with you. I'm like, all right. I was like, I just retired out of the Marine Corps. I'd like to take a picture with you. And he goes, okay, I'll take it then. But he didn't want nobody to know that he was hanging out at bars.
Oh, really?
He didn't want nobody to know it at the time. And he was nice to us about it, but he didn't want anybody to know. So
that's weird because every time we went out to bars, he wanted everybody the whole world to know.
Well, then he did the
30 He saw you as Mark. He treated you like that.
Exactly.
You know, when we were around Charlotte, we did Independence Coliseum. You know, it'd be the first one over there, get a drink, sit down and 2-3 hours of drinking. Pretty soon, we got his shorts down around his ankles, showing his butt, everything else. We had several fights about that. Even Wahoo McDaniels.
Chief Wahoo.
Just everything.
Let another. So Manny, you wrestled. You're a legend. Let's call it what it is.
I know.
You're a legend. Look, you came up through, like you said,
Old school.
old school, where
They beat the hell out of you in the ring.
right there, there wasn't, the camera didn't pan out to make it look like something wasn't happening. I was just talking with Ted about this. Cutting the promo wasn't the value. It was your time in the ring was the value.
Time in the ring, what you do in the ring, and 75-25. 75% of that what you do in the ring, and only 25 would be considered a promo, a good promo. Get the promo believable. You got to make sure that the people believe what you're saying to convince them that you have to do what you do. Not none of these assistant promo.
Now,
I don't got much regard for the product today. That's a joke.
And that's interesting because every time I talk to legends like yourself, I hear that. Like, the product today is different. The product today is different. Is there anything, though, that you would say that you would give, like maybe there was something today that you wish you would have had at your time that maybe they have today you didn't have? Anything that you're like, you know what, 90% of it ain't for me, but that 10% right there, I wouldn't have minded that.
But 10% of the guys that are legit, about it. That's about it. Outside of that, no, the guys that I know that legit can represent themselves, they came down to, some idiot at a bar or somebody at some
really put hands on somebody.
Yeah, put hands on somebody, just try to put the business out. But 10% of that's real now. Guys that are around that do that.
And thinking about that, what's your feelings on for folks that maybe they want to get into the business, they're thinking about it, they're watching these guys, they feel that they could do it. Is there?
That's the problem. You're asking the question. It's a problem. Too many of these idiots in the world think they can do it. You get a 110-pound little thief, and he gets in the ring. He thinks he's Superman. He's up there keep popping around trying to take out a 300-pound guy, and that's the problem. That's the problem right there.
And they make it look believable.
Yeah. What's going to be believable about that?
Right.
110 pounds, you get, unless you're Bruce Lee. You born like Bruce Lee. I mean, that's the problem right there.
Right. No, you're right.
Too many people think they can be so well, I could do that. Yeah, you can do that against all these costumes flipping crop around like a bunch of little ballerinas. You watch some of this crap and you think you're watching the Olympics, and you got Olympic teams.
Well, I'm with you. I barely watch anymore. I came up through watching. I grew up in Baltimore, so I had that whole Mid-Atlantic piece and seeing all those guys were there. But I absolutely understand what you're saying. It's a different animal than what it used to be. What was your? I'm curious of this because you. It sounds like you were in that Texas, so you had things like the Texas death matches and all those kind of things. Did you like to do any of those, like the cage match or any of that, or was that one of those things where you're like,
I had cage matches every day. I trained with Murdoch. He beat the hell out of me. Every time I try to run, Blackjack Mulligan latch on me, chuck me back. I had human cage matches. Terry fucking there. time I thought I was getting something, they throw me back in there and teach me a little bit.
Oh God.
So yeah, man, I mean, I don't get into wrestling much. I stay. I did this for 7 last year. You have to come back. I say that's not my part of my life. I don't have no memory. I don't care about nothing. I have no pictures that if I go to conventions of myself, nothing's on my wall. Nothing decorates my house. No, I know what it's all about.
I mean,
I got plaques people gave me for lifetime achievement awards or whatever. They wanted to say, oh, I have a Hall of Fame, like Chuck in the garbage can. It doesn't mean nothing. And what meant something to me in this business was the relationships I made along the way. Dick Murdoch, Terry. I love Terry. I just left the commission. I hate the situation we're in. I love Terry Funk to death. He put me over right now. He made me the shoes. That's it. But I know what it's all about.
You guys have such a different respect. It really is like, the respect you have for each other, the respect you have for the business, you can hear the difference than, and I don't know if it was just because the era, we didn't hear like, oh, such and such has been cut. It's not no longer. This one's cutting a deal with this Wrestling Federation. You don't hear that. We never heard those stories.
Because they never shared the road like we did. Back in the old days, we were up and down the roads with cars. They afforded a car. He was baby faces. He had their own car. If something happened on the road, you took care of it. That's how you did it. Something happened, somebody was struggling with the family, putting up food on the table, you go and help the guy out. You carried each other. It's a different breed. Nowadays, it's all about your ego. See how many loops you can do, how many hoops you can jump through. It's all about the ego. It's not about one another. In our profession, back in the day, it's about taking care of each other. It was a brotherhood. Brothers on the road share the same loop. That's what we call it.
Listen, man, I'm getting chilled. I promise you. Like, I'm legit. Like, I'm feeling everything you're saying. Because, to me, as a prior service member yourself, that's who we were there.
Right.
It doesn't need to go to the old man. I got this.
Yeah, that's right. And that's how I felt when I had my crew, my mentors, and Terry and Dennis Stamp, the old timers, all those old guys that just beat that. I love doing that. No matter what I did, no matter what they did to me, I would do that because I believed it. They believed in me.
Just beat the hell out of you back then.
That's it. And you had to beat the hell out of each other. We did it. Hey! Look at that. Phil After finally noticed.
Oh my gosh. Look at this, folks. Phil After.
I hate to cut this up, but I got to run.
Yeah, no. Folks, make sure you come and see Manny the Bull Fernandez. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Manny, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Coming out and joining us here. We're out live. Thank you, sir. I'll see you tonight. Coming out and seeing us at the Desmond Hotel in Albany. Plenty of legends around here hanging out with us, doing what we do. Make sure if you're in the Albany area from 10 to 1, this is where Dory Funk Jr. is here. Dan the Beast is to my right. There he is. He's sneaking on over to us. Maybe we'll get
still on his right.
Still on my right. We'll get it. Maybe we'll get time. We'll get him do an interview with us here. We've got all these different legends hanging out with us in Albany at the Desmond Hotel, 10 to 1. Booker T just showed up. He's off to the right. Dan Apple is popping over. Scott Nash, his son is here. He's a big boy too. He definitely doesn't look like he's missed too many meals. There's just so many folks that I can't even begin to explain to you who all is here. I might have to find myself an extra set of headphones so that everybody can kind of hear each other and do their thing. Where did Manny go? Manny! Hey, Ken. Manny! Well, Manny left his headphones here as I'm yelling. So we'll have to take care of that. See if I can get Ken to grab a hold of Manny. Hey, Ken. Manny left his earpiece. Hey, Seth. Thanks, Mr. Dan. I appreciate it. But yeah, so there's just so much history, and it's really, I'll tell you, one of the things that I really find interesting is how many of these folks uh, from that era, from that 70s, 80s, even 90s era, just their vibe to what wrestling is today is so different. I wonder how many of the more senior guys that have been around, what they would say. I think we're about to get one of those legends is joining us now. Dan the Beast. You know, what's funny is that Seth's popping his head over here. And I asked Seth earlier, I was like, well, who's going to be sitting in front of me? You know, he's like putting tables in front of me, backing me off in this corner. And he wouldn't tell me who was going to be sitting in front of me. He was like, look, if you got a problem with the guy sitting in front of you can take it up with him. And then I realized who was strutting on over here. You know, Dan the Beast. Dan, thank you so much for coming.
Well, again, I might come over here just intermittently here and there because we're here, we'll be here all day long. So why not come over and just chit chat, maybe answer a couple of fan questions if they happen to come on in, and just chat about whatever they want to chat about. I like the life that I've kind of carved up for myself. Some people might know me from the wacky world of professional wrestling. Some people might know me from the wacky world of cage fighting. The older vintages of people will know me from my amateur wrestling days. So I've been around for quite a few decades. When you look at, I started my amateur wrestling career in 7th grade, 1960. So knowing that I competed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020 plus, because I still do professional wrestling matches now.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. So you were a collegiate wrestler.
Yeah.
And how far did your collegiate? Like you said, you started in 7th grade.
Yeah.
Well,
but just to, I have to say, really make my mark as a high school wrestler. But as a high school wrestler, early in my career, I'll just say, like, by 9th and 10th grade, I think to myself, okay, I'll be a senior soon, and then upon high school graduation, what am I going to do? Well, the normal thing people think about is like, well, I'm going to go to college. But I think myself, well, how am I going to pay for college? Because I have 7 other siblings. I'm number 2 on the totem pole, second eldest male. And with my parents having 8 children, do you think there's going to be any money to be asked for? No. And that never even entered my mind to ask mom or dad because they have 8 mouths to feed, to clothe, the whole 9 yards. So how am I going to be able to do this myself? And then, I was involved in athletics. High school years, 9th grade to 12th grade, it was like in fall football. In the wintertime, wrestling. In the spring, track and field, but then also still wrestling. But by my sophomore year in high school, I had some college coaches. They thought I had an older brother. They thought that we were twins. And they actually looked at both my brother and I. Good work. I could get a college scholarship. So, and I refer to it, I'm a creator of options.
Nice. I like it.
Opportunity options. And that's what I did. So I was thinking, I'm going to look into this potential of doing this. So I dedicated a lot more time to my athletics where during my high school season, I was usually picking up on an average of 50 matches. But then in the spring, summer, fall of freestyle Greco-Roman wrestling, I pick up another 100 plus matches.
And you were doing Greco-Roman 100 matches.
No, again, between freestyle.
Oh, okay, between
the two disciplines, because I also get being about the sport of wrestling. Wrestling and the sport of wrestling has given so much back to me, but I knew that the United States is the only country that does folk style. What we do in our junior high, our high school, and on a collegiate basis, we're the only country that does this style of wrestling. Oh, really? The rest of the world does either freestyle or Greco. So when the Olympic Games come around, it's freestyle Greco only. A lot of athletes, they spend so much time in just folk style, and when they're college career ends, their career is ended at 19 or 20 years of age, typically. And excuse me, 21, 22 years of age. And then they're kind of lost because if they start to look to start a freestyle record career at that point, they've lost so much time where you got Russia, China, all these other countries that they're doing freestyle record right from those 3, 4 years of age. They start right there, so they have such an advantage. It's hard for most Americans to place at a weight class, let alone win a Olympic gold medal. It's actually quite a rarity when you pick up an Olympic gold medal in a sport of wrestling because of the deficit.
That makes a lot of sense. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about American Olympic gold medalists and how once that happens in that sport, they are really elevated because of that deficit. I know a few state champions between here and Connecticut and stuff like that, and it never dawned on me what you're saying. We don't do what, because you hear Greco-Roman and freestyle all the time on TV, but you don't think about that. That's not what these kids are learning. I never.
Yeah, no, I've worked with one reason that I ended up going to Arizona State University was my senior year. I made it very well known to the college community, college coaches community, that I will select a college that has the best of both worlds. I'm a good folk style wrestler, but I also want that opportunities for freestyle and Greco-Roman. So I decided with Arizona State University, you're allowed at the time maximum 6 recruiting. I took off 6 recruiting at that time. 2 Iowa teams were like the top 2. The 2 Oklahoma teams were in the very top. And the Wisconsin and Arizona State were my 6 different places up with 2. And I settled with Arizona State because I ended up meeting a former Arizona State wrestler alumni who basically he started a program known as the Sun-Kiss Wrestling Program. And basically, I'm the original Sun-Kiss kid.
I was about to say you're the Sun-Kiss kid.
Yeah, Sun-Kiss kid. Because he was involved in the citrus industry that supplied a lot of oranges and grapefruits and that industry. Yeah.
So now, who then was it, Dan, that introduced you to professional wrestling? This genre.
I was approached to the middle 80s, to the mid 80s. I was approached by a couple of different companies at the time. But had I turned pro, I would have lost my amateur wrestling status. As of the 1992 Olympics, a new rule came down from the United States Olympic Committee that allowed athletes to be both amateur and professional simultaneously. That's when we had our Olympic dream team on the basketball team. We had all our NBA players are now able to play in that. So as long as you weren't involved in high school or collegiate athletics, you were good to go. Well, my eligibility was well gone by that time. I was way past my graduation, stuff like that. So I was able to have my cake in it. In 1992, I jumped into first the professional wrestling first. I jumped into because the UFC did not exist yet, and then basically by 1994, officially December '93 was UFC 1 that took place. But the internet was not as prevalent as it is today. We could not have had a podcast back in those early 90s. Again, the technology was not there. Now today, it's incredible the thing that people for the comfort of the internet.
I was just talking to Joe. Joe's over there, and we were going through. Oh, there's Jeff Diskovich. That's my buddy Jeff. And we were just talking about this, and this is broadcasting. Right now, we're on 3 different Facebook pages: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. This is going everywhere, and then the audio of this will go onto every platform.
Well, you get when you look at the cell phone.
Oh yeah.
What was the cell phone back in the early '90s, and what that cell phone is capable of doing today? It's incredible.
Yeah, it was just that. Remember the big box, the big block phone? Oh yeah.
It looked like a walkie-talkie. Okay, it's what it looked like. You had a little walkie-talkie, and even the first car phone was actually attached to the car.
It was physically a car phone. Yes, I remember that.
Comically, I have a training facility in Omaha, Michigan, and I still have a waffle in the kitchen. Now it's connected to nothing.
Okay.
The line's dead, but I'll have to be in there sometime, and I'll take my cell phone and I'll set it to ring. So it rings, and I go over to the waffle and I pick it up and I carry on this fictitious conversation, and they're looking at me with amazement, like, what is that device that's hanging on the wall there or stuff like that?
Oh, that's so great.
I just have fun with it because it's kind of like, then you have to kind of educate people. Okay, prior to the cell phone, it was called a landline, and even in the landline industry, it might have been a party line where you had to share with half a dozen more people.
I forgot all about party lines. Oh. Yes, God. I was telling someone the other day, I made a joke, and I felt like I was showing my age. I referred to a 976 number. Do you remember those? Those were big in the Mid-Atlantic. They were before the 1-800-CALL-ME and all those. In the Mid-Atlantic, we had 976 numbers.
Okay.
I grew up in Baltimore, so you would see on late night on TV, it would be like, if you're lonely, dial 976, and that was the line. So we used to joke about it. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So you got, by the time you got into the pro circuit and were allowed to be in the pro circuit, really the territories were done.
Yes, I actually wish I had been in more for the territory, because I would have been a perfect fit for the territories. Just forget for listeners that are listening. The territorial times where there were different companies that might have been on the East Coast, different companies on the West Coast. There's different organizations on the North and the South, where at that point in time when a professional wrestler was having that loser leaves town match, they already had a contract signed with another territory. So they would lose it, and then they would go on to that new territory, and they would be there for the next couple of years.
I mean, so
you're just like a journeyman. Really, is what you're like. You're just a journeyman. You spent maybe 2 or 3 years, and you just went to a condo or an apartment or something like that, where you just living very much like a vagabond, because you didn't have very many possessions.
Right, you were going to move. You were going to be on the road, and even on the road in your territory, you were probably hitting multiple cities.
Yes.
You were going all over the place.
So even for myself, I still to this day, I travel so much. Like I was every weekend I go somewhere, and there's like, even prior to coming to this, it was on I'll say Wednesday. I got extra early on a Wednesday morning because I had a lot of things I had to get done, chores, that just had to get done. And then I traveled from, and I was on a recreational
RV
water property. I have an island. And Howell, Michigan. Now, again, people think it's an island in the tropics. No. It's an island in the state of Michigan.
Okay, so it's an island in a frozen tundra, but it's still an island.
Yeah, but the cool fact is, it's an island. You actually have to take a boat to get to your property.
That's awesome.
I never owned a boat before, other than a canoe. So buying a pontoon boat, and have this island property, and the property's like just under 1 acre, but we're the only cottage on your property. And this is season number 3 of being on this island property and just making it ours. That's awesome. It is. I mean, literally, we're taking pictures to show here's summer number 1, what it looked like, summer number 2, and again, set up these projects where, like, great. Here's one of the big stuff. Whatever you buy, you have to put on a pontoon boat ring. So, like, a new refrigerator. You want to know how heavy a new refrigerator is? That you have to pick up and put on a pontoon boat, take on over. Yeah. the sidecar and all these things to and fro. And whatever you put on the island, where do you take the garbage out to? You have to put it back on the boat and drive back over to the mainland and put it in the garbage can and put it out on the curb. So on the mainland, I just own a little easement of property just so I
Just enough to get on and off.
Parks there, and they got the garbage cans at the end. But even I first acquired this property during the COVID period, so everyone's kind of at a distance. They're not kind of it was easy to do negotiation because nobody's buying anything during the COVID. No one's going out. It didn't slow Dan Summer down. Dan Summer was all over the place. Get to touch on that. They were locking down state by state. They literally were saying on the air, don't try to go from Michigan to Indiana or Michigan to Ohio. Because we'll be having National Guard at the border. And literally, I spent part of my year in Colorado, Michigan, my favorite city, part of my year in Arizona. And so I've got to get on the road. I'm leaving the state of Michigan, and I'm going to find out pretty quick. Is the National Guard no National Guard at the border? But literally, as I'm on the road, and I find it hard to believe, I literally am the only car. The essentials were tractor trailer trucks. Diesel trucks are they're out there, but it might be a half hour before I come up to the next tractor truck. As I start to pass them, and literally these drivers, they're looking down at me, they're giving me the thumbs up, they're tooting the horn because they're seeing. They realize I am the only car that they have seen. But how quickly we live in the United States, and Americans are not the sharpest toolbox.
Whatever the internet tells me, that's what I'm going to do.
They're quick to forget about things. To me, you need to chalk that back up in your mind because, again, I'm just talking about today's leadership, or what I call today's lack of leadership. We don't have real people standing up for the Constitution. And we're living in a very socialistic, communistic country. Again, I don't mean to go.
I know what but I understand what you're saying.
So I'm just thinking about. I'm a really blunt and honest person. I go say, if you want my opinion, you may want to
think before you ask. Think before you ask about that opinion. I understand that. So now, but what was your first pro match? Like what?
Oh, it was with I did my trade with Al Snow, professional wrestling Al Snow over in Lima, Ohio.
And for those who don't know who Al Snow is, Al used to walk around with a baby doll head.
Yeah,
not a baby doll head.
Mannequin head. And he had the greatest line. You put the chant, "Who was head?" Who was head?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was what was that? That league was that's why I'm afraid of it. Not CWA. The league that.
He was a part of the Job Squad.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, the Job Squad. Yeah, you're good. Yes. Pit me, pay me. Again, he actually had a T-shirt, Job Squad. And on the back, pit me, pay me.
Those guys were. I remember that. I remember those days.
And again, Al's got a great sense of humor to him. I guess people just didn't realize what the sense of humor.
And he's still training. Oh,
yeah, he's still training people. He's got somehow he is still associated with Vince's organization as a kind of a feeder system.
Okay.
I think they ended up, him and another partner or two ended up buying the old Ohio Ballet organization. And that's what they run.
Like the indie circuit out there. So now, I've had, just before you having Ted DiBiase on, Manny Fernandez on, who came up through that 70s, the circuits that we were talking about. So their perspective on today's wrestlers was really that old school, we're going to beat the hell out of you until you figured out how to do this, and then we'll beat the hell out of you a little bit more. You came in at kind of the birth of today's cut a promo, be able to put, everything is a high spot. Everything is kind of, what I mentioned to him, I remember when you got to see two superstars in the ring was a big deal during a match. But you came in during that era that it was a little different.
Yeah.
Almost every match was a superstar versus a
I
superstar.
agree. But it's promos that was not my forte whatsoever. I always tell people that I'm not gonna sit out there and go, look at me, look at me. I'm gonna flex and show you how powerful I am. I'm going to talk you to death. No, I always said that the marquee says professional wrestling. I'm going to give you wrestling. My actions are going to do speak by and for me.
So you were still valuing that skill set, that
I
foundational
was
skill
a
set.
throwback, even though I started in a time period where you hit a spot on. I was a throwback from days gone by. Even when people saw me walk out, the Open Fight Championship or walk out in professionals, they looked at me as a throwback from that because I did nothing sparkly or flashy about me, and I'm not going to cut the promos up. I'm going to come out there and I'm going to take you apart mechanically.
And that was going to be my next question is many wrestlers that I've met over the years, a lot of them were they did the professional wrestling. Maybe they did a year of high school wrestling and learn the difference there. With your foundation, was it ever a challenge dealing with folks that didn't know real, and I hate to use that term, real wrestling, that didn't know the amateur circuit? Let me correct myself. That weren't from that amateur circuit of wrestling, weren't from that high school, college. Was that a challenge dealing with those guys? And the other side is, did you ever use that to kind of, and I'm forgetting the term right now, if a guy didn't know how to put it on the right way, did you ever have to, add a little shoot to that, use that to your advantage?
I'll say that I've only ever been challenged once or twice. Where I still try to challenge me to turn the fantasy world into reality. And I call it like the one guy that's the most vivid memory. I call it the power bomb from hell. So he basically starts to try to shoot it and take down the real devil. And I'm thinking to myself, I won't say some of the same words that I thought to myself.
Well, we're on a podcast, so we can say whatever we need.
Literally, I grabbed I grabbed him around the waist, and literally, as I'm bringing him up in the air, I get adrenaline kicked in, and the shooter, Marty, kicked in. I grabbed him, and literally, as I brought him up, I released him, simply just, and he still extended
Still
upward.
rising.
And I grab his hip and I break him down and I basically put him probably halfway through the floor.
You say who it was.
The match, the match ended right then and there because it was like I knocked the wind out of him so bad, and I'm thinking, don't. I was probably even when I worked with the best.
Okay.
I just stayed to myself. Because you still know, especially in the beginning, I was that guy that when I would drive in, I drove in by myself. I learned real quick, like within the first one or two hotel stays, they said they had my hotel, and I'm seeing with all the other restaurants. I'm seeing what's taking place. I'm seeing what's going to get in the hotel lobby. I don't want any distractions. I don't want any temptations. I don't want this stuff. Once I found out what they're saying, I stayed somewhere else.
Oh, really?
I stayed by myself. I drove in by myself.
Did you have to book that yourself, or was it they knew hey, Dan's going to want something? So
Well, no, I mean, the nice part about what they did is all I do is call travel. And I can come in. So I mean, they're paying my transportation, they're taking care of my hotel, so but I'll get something that's going to fall in line, cost something like that, no problem. So I got to get my hotel. It could always be somewhere away from them, but near enough to the arena that I'm good to go. So always got to have Wi-Fi because I got to set up my laptop. I got to be working things of that nature. So I drove myself, stayed by myself, but in the same 24 hours, I could that these guys are working and they're doing one thing. I would fly in earlier that day. I may go and do a speaking engagement at a local high school or junior high. I may do something in the early, usually by the early afternoon. They want you reporting to the arena. that was taken away from me. What, I kept thinking, why do I have to get this dinner so early? And the show didn't go on till like 7, 8 o'clock that evening.
So how early were you getting?
They wanted to be there like 1 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So that they take place. I found out later why. It was the biggest babysitting job in the world because you had a lot of these professional wrestlers that were
Drifting.
not very accountable for their time. They may show up.
I love the way you're putting it.
I'm using some big words that a lot of professionals may not know how to use, but that's my
this is
education
the
background.
best. This is the best way of placing this to where people, instead of being like they were jackasses who couldn't show up when they needed to, they just weren't accountable for their time. Really didn't understand, place and time at the right element. I love it.
And pretty quickly, then, a couple of the different agents that are working there, like to be there with that does not take because again, they know that they don't have to worry about me showing up and being ready to go. I literally was the only guy that would ever.
Oh, like legitimately get out there and stretch.
When the ring would get set up, I would actually go out and warm up in the ring. I do a stretch routine and the whole 9 yards. Especially when I was on the independent scene, I'd always have to pull out. You guys care? I just go into the ring ahead of time and just warm up. There's no in the locker room. There's no place to warm up to. The mat stuff like that. The ring is all set. And then I real put ahead of the scene, especially on the smaller as circuit. I just go out and people are coming in because usually an hour before those open up. Most of the wrestlers only get there about an hour before. And like, okay, I'm arriving there, I get dressed out, I go into the ring, and all the things they watch all the things that's going in there. And literally, they'll come in, and then when I'm done doing my warm up, the stretch, they literally applaud. It's like, they're like, in their mind, I made the industry look good. They're like, man, all these guys must be doing this.
Right, this must be everybody's routine. We just happen to get lucky we caught this guy. So now you also fought UFC.
Yeah, simultaneously. I'm doing a professional wrestling career in a mixed martial arts career, or actually, I should say NHB, to get the predecessor to all of them. NHB, no hold bar. Yeah.
And I remember those. That was back when a guy my size would fight a guy your size, and then get done with you and have to fight a guy his size. And I still, sidebar, one of my most memorable matches was there was this guy. He was a big black guy, like Gorilla, or what was his name?
Andy Yarbo.
That was him. And
Against Keith Hackney, there was just over 400 pounds. I
Yes.
know the match because I know Keith Hackney quite well. I've been to his dojo, stuff like that, talk to his but I always say that Keith Hackney ought to be out of the circuit because how can you stand across the cage and how
getting chills again.
Giving up 400 pounds of size.
And whoop that big man's ass. Like, I mean, that was the true immovable object of unstoppable force. Like, that was the little real one.
I tell people that Keith Hackney hit Manny Arbo with an open palm shot to the head, drops him, and then the big man just can't stand up.
Right.
So Andy's trying to, he's got to position up three or 4 points in order to try to get him to come back to the feet. Keith Hackney hit Andy Arbo another 70 or 80 times before, and Big John McCarthy's thinking the big man can't get up. And Keith Hackney just hit him in that head, and Big John Price stopped the match. Where Keith wins the match, but he can't go on because he broke his hand because of bare knuckle, and I said he hit Manny Arbo 70, 80 or more times in the skull. It was incredible.
So you're in that, and again, you're in that early era of this. And let me know if you, Dan, if you need to get back for autographs or anything, please. But you're in that early era of no holds barred, which will eventually become UFC and Dana White and all those elements. Do you think? Because I have a personal thought on this. I like the fact that it's sanctioned, blah 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 and all that. But I feel like it lost, to me, the luster of seeing a match like that, of seeing those things.
The freak show, part of the freak show.
Yeah, what was remember Tough Man?
Yeah.
We used to go to the National Guard Arena to watch Tough Man.
My first match ever
Was it Tough Man? Yeah, I remember going to Tough Man in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where I was stationed at Camp Lejeune, and watching some guy that had like 4 teeth, 2 of them in his pocket, fight this kid who was a Marine who like came out. He was all flashy and had his sweat track suit on and everything. And this good old boy beat him like he owed him money, and I was like, you might have wanted this. And he had like the flashy one. He had like all of his buddies up there. And this good old boy just showed up like, come on, I'm gonna beat the hell out of you. So I mean, it was just,
For listeners that don't know what Tough Man was, Tough Man was basically a boxing event that had 2 weight classes, 190 and under, and anything over. That was the 2 weight class.
that was it. Get at it.
Art Dorr was the creator of Tough Man. He was actually out of Battle Creek, Michigan. Again, I got to know this guy because he looked like Wolfman Jack.
Oh, really?
He had the slim back hair, and the beard. And
I think I'm showing my age because I know who Wolfman Jack is.
Yeah, that's other people had to Google that name. But I remember my first time. I had never put out a boxing glove at this time. But, you know, the backstory was I needed $1,000.
That was it. Needed to have.
I needed money, and I jumped into this Tough Man contest. And it's a 2-day event. Friday night and then you do 1 match on a Friday night and then it's on Saturday night.
Okay.
It's a 2-night event back at that time. So I'm in the 190 and plus weight category. So I'm going to get this 300 plus pounder. And he's got the boxing shorts on.
He's ready.
He's got the gloves and all that. Here I am. My hair was much darker at that point in time.
Yeah.
You know, and
you grade well.
And the mustache was all dark at that point. I don't even know how to hold my hand. I look probably like John L. Sullivan out here right now, holding my hand in position. And when that referee, I had already started my professional training. This all happened around this 1992 time period. There's the whole story of how I got into bound and the pugilist arts. Because I used to tell people as I'd be traveling in airplanes, something like that, you know, what bigger figure stature, stuff like that. And people like, are you happy? And I'm like, yeah. So I go, what do you do? I go, I make money in the fashion. Right.
Leg breaking.
What great tale is that? I go, I beat people up and I take it. I look right up and I go, they don't even make eye contact with me anymore. I go, do this. Can I have another seat here, please? Don't know if he's going to be on edge here or whatever. But no, I just, but I've also been a big proponent of psychological aspects. I'm probably a fighter that had better psychological aspects instilled in anybody else. But people will never know that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Dan, if I looked at you and said, oh, man, what do you do for a living? And you told me, I beat people up and I take it from them, I'd have probably been like, that's cool, man. It was nice talking to you. Have a wonderful day. And I'd have disappeared also. Because you are no small man. And I remember Dan Severson, Dan the Beast Severson, wrestling match back in the day. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, you grade well. Most of us, we get the shitty little gray and extra gray. You've got the silver fox.
But a lot of people didn't realize I've actually been coloring my hair since I'm about 27.
Really? So all those pictures back then, that was all
just for me, number 45.
You got the number down. You got the number down. Everything worked out.
I only ever bought one color, so that's why continuity. I always tell people, and all the different pictures that they took, I go, because the first time I appeared at an event, all gray. We'll get it first. It starts with the whole poker trade picture, the barbershop, things like that. So literally, when I bought this island property, I looked like the wild man from Borneo. I got this almost like this afro on me, all this big mop of hair. I got a big old bushy beard, stuff like that. People are like, well, some old cottages just off that island out there, you know. But I made it because, like, bringing topsoil I would have a dump truck back up onto my easement property of 10 yards. A lot of people don't know what 10 yards are. 10 yards is the biggest dump truck possible. Dumping onto my easement because my easement is only 10 feet wide by about 100 some odd feet long. And then you got to drop it here because you got to stay on my property. And
Shaking it down, rolling the back.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
know exactly what you're talking about.
and my neighbors, they're like, why should I go? That's going to take 2 months. And then 3-4 days later, the guy was gone. They're like, how are you? Because they would see me take a trip. I own 30 orange buckets from
The Home Depot 5-gallon bucket.
Exactly. I own 30 of them.
And that's what you were doing. So you were filling 30 orange.
On the land, I'm shoveling dirt and filling up buckets, stacking them on a dolly, 3 high, and bringing them onto my pontoon boat. I know I had to have neighbors watching going, probably betting each other. He's going to sink that pontoon boat because I would set pretty down low in the water. And there were sometimes I was like, I may sink this puppy and take a crosser. But they were shocked to see within 3-4 days the power.
I take opinions. Like, do you actually have a garden out there? I love the garden.
But there's a lot of low spots.
Okay.
And I try to smooth out the low spots, but then also put in flower beds, things of that nature, to where strategically just for beautification, but also people realize every time I go by the waves that get erosion is taking place. So, I mean, even the movie The Rocks.
Well, maybe if my wife's listening, because my wife listens to my podcast, she's my biggest fan. It'll be a weird thing to travel with, but I'll have her bring some of our garlic with us, some of the seed garlic. I grow about 100 bulbs of garlic a year.
I mean, why garlic?
I've always enjoyed it, and it's a unique thing to grow. So when you grow garlic, you plant it at Halloween, and then you harvest it at 4th of July. And
it's a winter product.
so it's a fall thing that you can do. And folks like you and I who live in colder climates, we can grow what's called hardwood garlic. So when you put it in the ground, welcome to gardening. When you put it in the ground, you go about a thumb's depth down, pointy side up, drop it in, cover it, and when you harvest it, you actually get 2 harvests out of it. So when you plant it, it'll come up with what they call a scape, and it comes up in a pigtail, and you cut that pigtail scape off, and now you can use that for the same way you would use like an onion. It's got a very oniony flavor to it. You chop it up like you would a green onion.
Yeah.
You can use it for that, and then you can harvest the bulb, and you pull it out. You let it dry, cut the roots off, dry it for 2 weeks, and then you have your garlic. But what you would really notice that's so different is when you buy garlic at the grocery store and you have it, and your hands might smell garlicky, messing with it. From this stuff, when you use it, your fingers will stick together because it's so oily, and when it's natural, real garlic, and it's so oily. But the other side to it is that one seed of garlic, when it grows, it'll grow you 5 or 6 more seeds. Well, now, if you're good about what you're doing, and you now have 6 bulbs that you get, and it can all start off with that one. Just like when you were talking about, look full circle right back to it. When you talk about all the people you've influenced, all the different careers that you've been involved in, they can all bring that back to Dan Severance, influencing them and what they've done. Well, we do that. That garlic is the same way. That one, but many of the bulbs of garlic I have probably all still come back. That original harvest. We grow what's called music, and it's a hardneck purple garlic called music. It's got purple veins in it. It's got a nice little spice to it. I get into this whole
Yeah,
question.
I do like garlic. It's quality of garlic because garlic and onions are two things that I eat all the time. Just to get for what it does for your blood, what it does for other types of
Cholesterol, it's great for cholesterol. But yeah, so I mean,
It also wards off vampires back here. So
it does
I've never
that.
been attacked by
It's just if you eat enough of it, nobody wants to talk to you. Because you start coming from, a guy with a very Irish name coming from an Italian household. I know what it means to eat too much garlic, and then you sweat the garlic. It comes sweating out of you. You can do that. So after today, what are some of the next places that we can see you?
Well, again, if you want to go to my website, dansimmer.com, that's my basic website. I have all my social medias and I post it on there. I run a podcast that we talk about, I simply call toxic masculinity. Because the worst person to be in the world today is an older white man that has a job that still identifies as being a man. It's kind of going in today's crazy world. My legal name is Daniel, so I always tell people that in today's crazy world, I can wake up tomorrow morning and I can identify as being Danielle. Put two people with ribbons in my hair, and now I want to start my female cage fighting career, and I think I could do well.
You absolutely you could. I mean, it's definitely well, talking to some of the seasoned guys around here, they would say that the new wrestlers identify as pro wrestlers. After talking to Manny and Ted, I would say they might tell me, yeah, these guys they identify as pro wrestlers, but they ain't pro wrestlers.
Oh, it's again.
I didn't mean to make you speechless there for a minute.
No. We're in this room that we're in now. There's a very colorful, eclectic gathering.
Absolutely.
And it's basically there's before I ever got involved in professional wrestling, I went to a few shows and I watched all this more than I watched the shows. Because in reality, what does professional wrestling play?
The audience is emotional.
It's really, they do a lot of cool things with charities and stuff like that.
Yes.
Usually a lot of these charities are folks with mental
health
issues, children, and things of that nature. Once again, it's good that they do stuff with the children. That's really what I inspire children and things of that nature. But they kind of create on this.
It's definitely the introverted. The audience is usually more introverted, more of that. That's Dave across the way, who was the ref that you were talking to, Dave. He's told me stories where he ref matches where he had to be taken out, protected to get out of the building because the audience at that time, it wasn't the Vince McMahon sports entertainment, it was pro wrestling. And he's like, people didn't realize that we had this conversation. We booked this whole thing before we got in there, and they thought it was a real deal and it was legit. They didn't realize the outcome had already been determined. And that's what I mean when I say real deal and legit. They didn't realize the outcome had been determined. And he's like, I'm getting dealt with. People are trying to beat my ass.
Because it's a show, right? But the respect they give to professional wrestlers is the fact that professional wrestlers, they're an actor, but they're also a stunt person on top of that. Because when you are,
I'm gonna give you this. This is for you. 100%. I don't understand why people don't get that.
Usually when I go out and I do a lot of appearances, I'll bring out two belts. I'll bring out a UFC belt along with the NWA belt. The NWA champion belt is the wrestling type of belt, but it's the first belt I ever held.
Okay.
And I hold them both very prestigious. Right? I go, when you look at some of the men who have held this NWA champion type belt, they were people that had legitimate shoot background on top of all of that. So I'm honored. Not all of them, okay? Some of them, I'm honored.
Yeah, I mean, and you say shooter background, and I know I've mentioned this a couple times. I probably should have elaborate. When you hear us talking about shoot wrestling, this is they're in the ring, but they're really tweaking that arm. They're really putting a little elbow grease in there so that the audience sees what's going on. And if the two guys in there don't understand real shoot, that's where guys get hurt. That's where folks get hurt. People, two real shoot wrestlers who really understand that. That is a beautiful dance. That there is not much you can compare it to.
A lot of guys that actually have done professional wrestling matches, they kind of refer to Dan Severn as a bit of a pipe wrench. I'm very snug about how I do it. Very, it's very snug. Like, dude, sit up here a little bit. Just,
It's a little tight. But that was your background. But it came from that world.
I go, never get hurt. I understand what this is for. I go, if I'm doing a move to you, you will never be safer than if you were being held in your father's arms. But knowing though, if you cross me, I'll take your life if you want.
I'm just curious. With that, was there ever somebody you wrestled where you felt like? You always hear stories that that Andre the Giant, you had to really keep him happy, almost, because if he was upset with you, he could be hurt.
I never met Andre the Giant. I heard all kinds of great stories about him and different referees stuff like that. And I worked with him a great deal, kind of his handler. But I mean, yeah.
Is there anybody in your era where you felt like, hey, me and you, we can really hurt each other. We need to be careful here and stay even keel.
Literally, I felt that way about almost anyway. I got hurt my own heart.
Oh, really?
When Owen Hart did an inverted tombstone right there, he screwed up. I took full impact. So, yeah, I mean, the same thing that happened to Steve Austin right there that required Steve to have surgery of that nature. So it basically ended his career. Well, the same thing happened to me. I mean, it was first set up to be an injury angle in a match.
Right.
And the whole aspect of being taken out of the ring on the backboard, next place, always already pre-planned in this position. But he literally did. He screwed up. He did it wrong. Went down to his butt. Should have went down to his knees. And again, when he violated the number one rule of professional system, you take care of me and I take care of you. No one should actually truly get hurt. Now, as we said earlier, there are people that their chemistry they just don't get along. And so when they go hit a chop, they're gonna lay a chop in, and you're being uppercut. It's gonna be you're gonna hear a big old pop right there, and it's like going, yeah, that probably hurt a little more with what you're going to think it did. But I have no beef for it like that.
Okay. So I was curious if there was anybody that, like I said, you always heard those stories that, like, hey, look, when these two guys got in the ring, that shit was legit. They didn't like each other. They were trying to hurt each other.
I did see different guys when people get screwed up. And the hard part is that I look this way. If you screw up, you get hurt. That's okay. That's on you.
Right, that was your fault.
But if you screw up and I get hurt, that's not
different.
good. Yeah.
That's wild. That is so wild. So, again, any other upcoming events? Any other things that are coming along that we should be expecting? If places.
No. I mean, I literally every weekend I do
Something.
And I live a very cool lifestyle because, like the last 3 years, I live part-time in Arizona, part-time in Michigan. I'm born and raised Michigan, but I will be in Michigan now. Like the last 3 years, I'm here for spring, summer, fall. And then as I start to see getting colder and I start to see snow forming in the sky, it's time to head to the land of the sun, Arizona.
I don't blame you. So you're a sunbird.
Yeah, snowbird.
Or snowbird, that's a snowbird.
Snowbird is what it's called. I'm trying to say I have driven up and down the road, and I've been driving on that black ice. There have been times when I'm the only one on the road in such a bad storm. I'm trying to think, this is going to doing a couple of professional gigs, and doing a few other seminars on that. I'm back in like New Jersey at the time, and literally on the radios, I kept across saying that all vehicles must get off the road.
And here you are.
Only service vehicles, and I'm driving down the road, and literally there's cops everywhere, and there's vehicles that are literally stopped in the middle of the freeway because they can't get their traction, or they're stuck in the middle of the freeway. And it was I'm trying to get out of Dodge, trying to stay ahead of it. You know, I even I pulled into a couple different hotels, but because they're telling you to get out the road,
There's nobody at the hotel.
You can't get a room because all the hotels are shut. I did one where I actually did get up the road. I got into a hotel room, and then the moment that it said all clear, I literally was the first car to get out. The snowplow hadn't been down the road. I simply knew that I'm in the center of this freeway, and based on the divot over here, there's the ditch, and the divot over here, there's this. Keep it in the center, and just drive down the road. Knowing that. Hopefully it doesn't run across the front because there is going to be no braking.
Yeah, there's no braking.
I'll throw it in the skid, I'll be out with the feet there somewhere.
I know exactly what you mean. So we've got the podcast, Toxic Masculinity. Dan7.com. How often does the podcast go? How often do you do your podcast?
Well, we do probably a couple of interviews each week.
Okay.
But we do that because I have a great schedule. So we try to shoot 2-3 different people at a time so that we keep building up content so that they could be continuously released.
Okay. So we've got that, and then you're doing every weekend. If they just go on to Dan7.com, they can find where you're at, what you got going on, what events you got happening.
The Facebook page is probably the most prevalent right there. It's hard to where I do more interaction with fans. But I can't. Can I keep up with it? No, I can't keep up.
And I think you're getting ready to get somebody coming. Dan, are you going to be at dinner tonight?
Oh yeah.
Then I'll see you at dinner. I'll see you at dinner tonight.
It's called Come Feast with the Beast.
We're going to feast with the beast tonight. Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time. Thank you for spending so much time with us.
Pleasure to be here.
We'll talk soon. Alrighty, folks. If you're still hanging out with us, make sure you get your questions in with us. You can see some of our past guests out here. We got Mike Falvo, the voice of Albany sports. I just saw Anthony Tippo just a moment ago. Anthony's out here. Anthony just had his first match. He is one of the clients for our great friend Jeff Diskovich. I don't see where Jeff is wandering around here right now, but he was actually exonerated by Jeff. I think we're going to get going on here. I'm going to have to get some autographs on some of our coasters. If you're in the Albany area this week, make sure you stop by right now from 10 to 1. We got about another hour to go here. We've got about another hour to go here. We're at the Desmond. Please come by, see us, make this happen. Maybe I get Ken to hook me up here. Booker T was in. Yeah, Booker T is Ken. Booker T is on my right. Maybe I get to meet him tonight. Maybe I get Ken to hook me up here. I know Ken's doing the helping out, making sure everybody gets their autographs, getting everybody situated. See if I get Anthony to pay attention here. He's not paying attention. There's Jeff. Jeffrey. Let's see if I have to just text him. It's much easier. So we'll get Jeff to pop one over for a moment. I got to thank my wife first and foremost. She got all this, helped me get all my gear set up, get me situated, because without her this morning, we wouldn't have got this to happen. And I got to say, thank Seth for putting this all on him, Mike Lutuna. I can't say enough about this event. This is the second year for it. Bigger this year than last year. Some great, amazing names that have come out and joined us. Again, if you're in the Albany area, come out to the desert. Just come to the desert. It's a nice hotel. It's just so well put together. It's beautiful. Let's see here. He's not paying attention. Just send Jeff a message. He's not paying attention. He can't hear me. For some reason, as loud as my voice is, it's not carrying into this room. Folks that know me know my voice carries. So we're just hanging out. If you got any questions, any wrestlers you'd like to see who's in here, there's one guy
It's not. But this will tell you, we're starting to get some folks popping in here. I know we've got dinner tonight. That's going to be a blast. So if you're in the area, make sure you come by. Who else we got here? Oh, Terry Funk is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight by Ted DiBiase. Just think about that statement. If you are a wrestling fan, you enjoy wrestling. Would you just think about that statement in and of itself that Terry Funk is going into the Hall of Fame in professional wrestling, being inducted by Ted DiBiase, but I'm sitting next to Danny D. Severson, next to Manny the Bull, who's sitting next to Luke of the Bushwhackers, next to Scott Nash, or Steve Nash, Nash's son, while Booker T is in the corner. I don't know where she's at. Susan Sexton's around here somewhere. I saw her earlier. I mean, the Funks are here in the house. I mean, this is just one of those kind of things where it's hard to put it in its perspective. Anthony Dippo, Anthony Dippo. I can't get in. Turn the mics back on here. You can't hear me. Let's see if I keep waving my arms for Anthony to finally pick his head up. Anthony, you gotta love it. Can you get the gentleman in the green shirt or the gentleman in the blue shirt? It's Anthony Dippo, Jeff Piscotty. See, damn people taking good care of this here. Look at the big man finally coming over. We're gonna make him sit down. We're gonna make him put the headphones on. Look, you can't have your first professional wrestling match and not have an opportunity. Hey, sweetheart, how are you? You're good? No, you're good. You're just on camera now. You were just on camera. Well, it's too late. It's already happened. Put it on. Joining us, you got to get up on that mic here. Having his first professional wrestling match yesterday at the Waterville Dome. He was in the ring, harassed. I saw the video put out by Jeff Piscotty, being harassed by Seth. But I'm going to tell you right now, the first thing I noticed as I get ready to introduce you to the big man, his first match we got with us, Mr. Look, you need one. You need this. Mr. Anthony Dippo. So what's up, brother? Back in Albany.
Just so excited tonight. I received the Excelsior Award.
What is that?
In 22. It's for a non-professional wrestler, which I'm a wrestler. I'm going to be a wrestler, not professional. But it's for a non-professional wrestler who somehow advanced the wrestling movement, the wrestling culture, the wrestling industry.
And you look pretty good out there. And I got to tell you, you know what the first thing I noticed was? That none of them big old boys were bigger than you.
Yeah, pretty big.
Anthony was holding size-wise with some of the big of them. If you've never met Seth is probably about 6'5", 6'6". How big are you, Anthony?
6'6".
So he was holding them. And look, his manager, Jeff Piscotty, is coming over. Maybe Jeff will cut a promo with us here in a little bit. He's got his manager with him. And the lovely ringside girl that he brought. So what was it like, brother? I mean, you got to fulfill a lifelong dream of being in the ring, being in that squared circle with, other wrestlers, people who do this on a regular. Held your own.
I mean, I've been watching it for 40 years. I did 20 years locally convicted. While I was in prison, wrestling was one of the things that I had I had to hold on to for every week that kept me going. It gave me something to look forward to. And right now,
We're going to cut a picture for Jeff.
I have just such a high honor of now being able to be involved in this. This is my second show. I have Wrestling for Innocence, which is designed to help create awareness and hopefully raise money for the wrongfully convicted. So far, I've gotten to work with Booker T, as you seen yesterday.
Yeah, I saw Booker
I actually
T.
got to walk to the ring with him. Prior to that, we helped the guy out of jail with Scott Hall, with Kevin Nash, and Jake Hagar. And that was an
Getting
experience.
chills. Like today, something about today, just being in this environment, talking to you right now, it really is like getting chills. I mean, and you were in there with legends. You were in there with legends, brother.
Two Hall of Famers.
I mean,
and the real legends in my mind were the exonerees who I got to stand in the ring with at the end of the match.
That-
Almost 80 years. There was another exoneree that had to leave was Marty Tanklet, who I did 18.
and I want people to think about that number for a second. You did 20. That guy did 18. Jeff, you did 16. We're not talking folks that got wrongfully convicted, did a week, and somebody said, "Oh, my bad, let that guy out. We screwed this up." We're talking decades. We're talking lifetimes, and yet you come out, and both of you. I know Jeff. I'll get you on. Jeff, you've been on with us before. You don't come out with an asshole's attitude. How do you pull that? That in and of itself, to me, makes you on a legendary status on your own. You got to understand that I know guys that have a bad day and blame the work. You come up, guys are doing things and saying, "Not again, not again will this happen." How do you do that?
I think when you lose enough time, you don't really have time to, be angry. You don't have time to regret or resent. You just got to keep moving forward, and you got to make the most of what you got. And when you lost so much, you have such a higher level of gratitude. I'm just thankful every day, and every day I find gratitude, even on my worst days. And I had some bad days, like I'm like everybody else. But when you have such everything taken from you, and you're put in a cage, and you can't pick what you want to eat, you can't go to the bathroom you want to go to, you can't watch what you want to watch on TV. Then when you come out and you get all those things back, it's just there's no words. It's just such pleasure. It's just such just being so thankful. I'm really thankful. Like I'm angry what they did to me, but at the
that's
same
different.
time, yeah. But I do things to kind of like heal myself. Like there's a lot of trauma involved in wrongful conviction, and any person who's been in prison, and it's embedded in our nervous system, and so we find these things. Some things are scarier than others. Like coming out with a Booker T. My nervous system was scary.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I did it, and I'm gonna keep moving forward. Like Jeff. Jeff is huge in helping other people. He's gotten a level.
Do you think we could get him? What do you think? I think he could put.
We've talked about it.
I'm saying like Bobby the Brain,
Oh, sure.
or a what's it? Oh God, I can't think of his name. Captain Lou Albano. I guess that kind of. We got to get him to grow the beard though. Do you think we could get staples into his face for the rubber bands? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think those were safety things. He was my neighbor when I grew up.
Really, yeah. Captain Lou?
Yeah. Actually, his daughter-in-law was a witness in my case. We were talking about that.
Well, I actually, it's funny talking about all those. I met God, what the heck was his name? I can't think of his name right now. Guitar.
Honky Tonk Man.
But who was his manager? Hart.
Jimmy the Mouth
Jimmy
of
the
the
Mouth.
South.
Jimmy
Yeah.
the Mouth of the South Hart. See, now I can see him doing that. Look at the smile on Jeff's face. He's like, yeah.
A funny story about Jimmy Hart was I was with Jeff. One of my very first meet and greets, he came with me, and it was in Staten Island. And so Jimmy, he has this megaphone
Yes.
where he yells into the ring, and stuff. So, Jimmy takes the picture with the megaphone. And so we're all standing there, Nancy's there, I'm there, Jeff's there, and Jeff picks the megaphone up towards his face, and Jimmy kind of slaps it down. Remember that?
And that was the other side is you are making the most of this. Every time I see you on Facebook, you're traveling somewhere, you're seeing something, you're taking the time to explore this and what you were giving back, even though it was taken from you, but you give back what was taken from you.
Well, there's two parts to that. So first, Facebook only. I only put up like good moments. I'm not going to put up if I'm having a bad day. And the second part to that is, I'm one of the very fortunate few. Like maybe there's 25% of us that actually get fairly compensated.
Well, that's a whole nother thing.
Maybe another 10% that get a little bit of compensation. I'm able to do it. I manage my money well. So I'm slowing down a little bit now after traveling for 5 years. But
we all got to slow down a little bit. But I introduced this guy, Mike Latuna. He'll help you out.
Mike Latuna?
Yeah, you know Mike.
Mike Latuna.
Latuna, whatever. He manages my money. I don't know. I call him.
You don't even know the name of your money manager?
Look, I know how to get him on the phone. I always call it Latuna. I always call it Latuna. I don't know. So when's the next match? What's our next match?
So I have a date in Richfield Park, New Jersey, on September 4th, where I'm going to come out and I'm going to have a speaking part.
Couple promo.
Managerial role.
Okay.
Things might happen. Next week.
Now, what circuit is that? What indie circuit is that?
That's going to be for Pro Wrestling Magic.
Pro Wrestling Magic, okay.
And then I begin actually training in the ring next week. And we're also filming a docu-series simultaneously. And so the docu-series, which I'm going to not say about, is going to be there for my first training. So, and it's going to be good. It's going to be a really, really powerful docu-series. I got really great directors, Nancy Schwartzman and Trish Gillespie. And so, like, we're just trying to put the story out there in the greatest light possible.
I'm glad that you realized that I wasn't going to let you get away with not sitting in front of that microphone.
I know. I thought you wanted to say hi. I was on that side.
Oh, no. I wasn't going to let you get away. I told you when we had dinner that I was going to get you on that button.
I promise.
And now we've made
I haven't talked. I haven't broken any of my contractors. I haven't spoken actually about the case. So this is about wrestling.
And that's what I want to know about.
And life and coming on.
And that's it. The rest of the stuff, you know what? Your story will come out. Everybody will know what the truth is. And we will. And I want the directors on it. That's how Jeff and I met. I always said Jaya. He says Gia. I don't know. If you haven't figured it out, I butchered names. I sat here for 10 minutes making sure I spelled DiBiase before Mr. Ted got on. I was like, DiBiase. You know what my computer kept telling me I was spelling it wrong? I had to Google this stuff. Oh, that's DiBiase. My computer kept telling me I was spelling DiBiase. So we got some matches coming up. We got a movie coming out. Red carpet like that. That's next for red carpet. We're gonna have. Did you come up with a wrestling name yet? Do we have a name yet?
Me.
You're just coming out as Anthony Dippo?
Yeah. It's a Pitbull.
Look,
it's a Pitbull.
I told you I butchered names.
Yeah, I've been called everything. Dipio, Dippo.
But I think mine's a better wrestling name. What? Anthony Dippo. I think it's got a more how you doing kind of sound to it.
No,
you don't think so?
No. I mean, if you get a wrestling promotion organization, I'll come wrestle you with Anthony Dippo.
I love you, brother.
And then of course I'll get the mic and be like, how can you have me out here and not say my name?
Oh, I love it. You are the best, brother. I love your attitude. I love having you around. I'm glad that we got to see each other again. I'm love seeing all the good times on Facebook, man. I'm real, like, you have no idea. I get chills thinking about what you've been able to do, and I'm real happy to call you a friend. I want you to know that. I'm real happy. I'm real happy. And and we even got Nancy stuck onto the camera when she didn't want to. She didn't even realize. She didn't realize my spy camera was out there filming everybody.
We should get Leo over here.
Now, is that who's Leo?
My girlfriend.
Come on. Come over.
It's this shirt that she's wearing.
Look at she's
This project shirt. Right
see
here.
that camera right there.
Yeah, it's an advocate for the innocent.
You don't have to look at these two mugs. You can see a much better
Much
look.
better view over here. Much better.
I got something for you. There was another convention that was going on up here that you missed.
Yes, I think I know.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was at that yesterday. It was all B2B.
Really?
All B2B. And it was pretty amazing, all the different avenues of approach and companies and in different things. It was nothing like you would have thought.
Really?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Absolutely nothing. It was more like your soil, your lamps. Take whatever you want, sweetheart. Soil, lamps, a couple of lawyers and stuff like that, like the legal side. Like, it was very because I was doing the staffing side of it,
Oh, fun.
and I was like, "You need staff?" And they're like, I can't tell you how many people were left. Yeah, they just changed everything. It's all legalized now. We expect our business. We're going to need to employ 45 more people in the next 6 months. That's what I do.
Are we still on? Or are we?
Oh yeah, we're on. This is yep.
Doreen, come here.
Who's Doreen?
This is Mother Justice. She's a national. This Mother Justice is a national treasure. Come on back.
Come on there, Doreen.
Come on back.
You,
So she's the mother of John Juka, who had 18 years in wrongfully still now.
still in.
Wrongfully convicted of killing a guy, Mark Fisher. Real guy confessed.
So that was always going to be my next question. So that was going to be my next question, because we run into these situations, and we know Jeff's situation was the guy finally was like, "Oh yeah, that, yeah, I fucking did that, no big deal." And finally he's like, "Really? We know your situation. We're not going to get into the details of it." So you're telling me the guy admitted? Here,
That we know
pull that off. And she, you want to sit down?
No, you're good. I'll come back up.
Because this is something we talk about often on the show. This is something that I push for. I'm Murphy, by the way. And you talk right into the mic. And your name again is?
I'm Doreen
Doreen Juliana. So your son, John Juka, is still incarcerated today.
Yes. 18 years, 18 months.
Even though the man who committed the crime admitted to it. And nobody.
I did it alone, and John Juka has done it.
And still.
Yes.
New York State?
Yes. John currently is in South
Yeah, okay.
Correctional Facility. He's been incarcerated for 18 months, and there's so much evidence of his actual innocence. And still, to this day, the judge, the prosecutors, and give him a fair trial. We've been begging the DA of Goodwood, Eric Gonzalez, to please give John a fair trial so he can prove his innocence. And getting denied.
I don't even, like, as a parent, I understand it. I think one of my kids did something and the other one admits to it and goes, "No, I did it." As a parent, I know enough to go, "Okay, well then you got to get in trouble. I'm sorry." How is that not even? I don't understand.
Well, early on, when the crime occurred, this was in 2003 in Brooklyn, initially, the court was pointing blame at everyone else. So it wasn't until that he confessed at the very end. So they were dragged to trial. Right before the election, it was the district attorney's election year.
Right, I'm listening to you.
And then after, many years after, when some detectives from the DA's office went to go see the co-defendant in jail, He confessed and he said, I had nothing to do with it. John had nothing to do with it.
Right.
I did this and I did this. So that should have been enough for the doors to fly open and set John free, but it wasn't. And John, junior lawyer, his name is Mr. Mark Federal.
Okay.
He's a phenomenal lawyer. He fought tooth and nail to that John take care of their
No, please go ahead. I had to kind of know. No, this is incredible to me. Well, it truly is. Well, that's the whole thing, and I've talked about this before. How the prison system in the United States is a business. Hold on a second. Again, those are the ghosts. Yep. It's a business, and has one each. You just take a stack. I'll move my mic. It's Sean Murphy. I go by Murphy.
Just take it off.
Thanks, Ken. If you have time. But
yeah, so this happened in 2003. And it was a very high profile case. It made the front page of the Daily News, New York Post, New York Times, every channel. And, from the very beginning, they were saying that this was a gang-related crime, when it wasn't actually didn't even exist. So long before a single juror has taken a seat, they already had their verdict by reading the tabloids. They had them convicted earlier. When I say they, I mean John and his co-workers.
right, the jury, what do they call it? Court of public opinion. Court of public opinion already had him convicted. So, but here's, and this is one of those things. And I'd have to ask, Jeff might know the number, he might know the number. But it's actually some crazy number of how much he's valued at inside. Did you know they trade people like stocks through the prison system? So if you look into it, every person in the prison system has a number. They have a value attached to them as a number. So if you think about it, when they're moved, like why would you move people to prisons? Why do they need to be moved? What is something else that you move? You move stocks, you move bonds, money. They're moved in that way because there's a value associated with that. Remember, when our current administration, when he was a senator who created the crimes bill that keeps people incarcerated in the way that we do right now. One of the things in that was the states can't get their money unless a person serves 85% of their time. So you get no federal funding. Right, so you get no federal funding unless they serve 85% of their time. So think about that for a second. Why would that matter to me if they serve that? Well, I need you to serve that amount of time so that I can get paid as a state for the crime you commit. So remember that. So you're being treated as a commodity when you're in that system. You also add to that fact that you have corporate prison system. So that means you have corporations that are paid to run prisons in this country. So even down to the point that California, during the last administration, because they hated that administration so badly out there, finally decided, folks, we didn't want to tell everybody. We actually had corporate-run ICE, immigration service, ICE, that they had corporate-run facilities in California for ICE. So when you hear all these things about how horrible the administration, blah, 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 those are ran by corporations. So this is one of those things. That's why Jeff and I always are always talking about this, and I love to have folks on to talk about this because I feel like it's such a, and I say it all the time, any crime that has a mathematical value associated with it was not made. Think about that. Like when I say, oh, there's a fine associated with this. Okay, well, if I got money, I don't care about you. But folks like you and I, who I got bills to pay, that fine matters to me. So, and that's, if you even think about your son being incarcerated, he was probably incarcerated before his trial was done. There's a bail associated with it. Oh, so he wasn't even given bail. So even worse.
Was in Rikers for almost a year, and we believe that it was time right before the election of Charles Hines. And it was, like I said, it was very high profile. So Charles Hines absolutely had to get the conviction.
Needed it for his numbers.
Correct. So, he would have lost the election if he would have lost the conviction. Because he has to appear like he's tough.
So
somebody had to take a poll, and it was nice.
So where are we at with his case? Because this right now is going out on 3 Facebook pages: LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, is where this is going. This as a podcast, this is going to go out probably tomorrow. I'm going to have our people chop some of this up and segment. If people wanted to help or wanted to support, how could they do that?
Well, probably write to our governor, Hochul. Free John has been in prison for 18 years, and we had what we call supporting motions over and over again.
And what are those?
It's a motion put before the court to show newfound remedies. And his lawyer, Mark Federer, to nail to prove that John did not get a fair trial, therefore the verdict is wrong. And if you look up Free John Juca, that's Giuca.
I was about to say, how to spell Juca first.
Yeah,
I'm horrible with names, as everyone knows.
And I'm Juliana, so I also have the Gi. But yeah, he didn't get a fair trial. Right now, we don't have anything before the courts, but we are willing to beg the governor to give John a commutation. He got 20-some years to life. And just let's go back a little bit, okay? He's in prison so far 18 years. So he did all his 20s and almost all his 30s in prison. He was in John Jay College of Criminal Justice. He was just about to get his associate degree when he got arrested. And it was, like I said, a high-profile case, and the IPWHF at the time wanted to make a name for himself.
They always do.
She bragged, Anna Signicolai, the ADA, bragged over and over again how she never lost a case. Never. She had 35 years when she did that. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I never won everything.
I'm pretty good at math, and I ain't never won it all myself. Yeah.
So, she cheated. She lied. She coerced witnesses. Witnesses have come back after 13, 14 years and said, I lied at John Hospital. I lied, and gave us affidavits who swore that they lied, and then they explained why they lied. Because detectives and the ATA, Anna Signicolai, threatened to coerce these false witnesses. She even took it as far as vouching for false testimony. She vouched that they were truthful when we told them, including her, that they were lies. There was jailhouse informants. There was a mountain high of evidence that proves John is innocent, and most importantly, he didn't get a fair trial. And I think you could agree with me on this one. Everybody deserves a fair trial.
Absolutely. Now,
Let's just give it that.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. So give me this. At that time, I know you said John was in college. John had all these other things going on. Was there any reason outside of what happened to think that John was involved in crime.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, in crime? No.
In crime,
No.
like that's what I'm
No,
saying.
no,
Like,
no.
like was there a
He
history?
never got arrested.
So never been arrested, never had any other trouble.
No.
Only time it ever happened, and all of a sudden he is, suspect number one in a
Well,
murder.
absolutely not. There were other suspects
Okay.
before they zeroed in on him. Okay, so we have to go back. John had an impromptu party. John and his friends, his college friends, were in Manhattan, all partying. Some of them couldn't get into the bars because you had to be 21.
Under 21. Okay.
And he was only 20. So he brought the party to my house.
Okay.
And then this young gentleman, Mark Fisher, who was from New Jersey, I believe, or Connecticut, I'm not quite sure, where he went to school and where he lived, left to retrieve a friend that he had initially came to my house, and he was found dead 3 blocks away. So because he was in my house last, they focused on my son, John. But there was much more to the story. And like I said, if you look at his website, freejohnjuka.com, or his Facebook page, John Juka, you'll get an abundance of information.
And spell Juka for us one more time.
G-R-U-C-A. And if people could just reach out to our governor and say, this kid deserves a commutation, clemency. And I'm going to tell you also why. During trial, the prosecutor presented 4 different theories to the jury. 4 different theories. John did maybe A, B, C, or D. And she gave, a jury should be unanimous, right? Well,
absolutely.
We don't know if they decided on theory number 1, theory number 2, 3, or 4, because she put out there that my son was a gang member and wanted to up the credibility of his gang. First, let me tell you, the gang did not exist. Okay, they supposedly called themselves ghetto mafia, meaning John and his friends from the neighborhood. We're from Brooklyn. We had friends from every nationality, every religion, and ghetto mafia is what they call themselves. In addition, she never, a friend came forward and said, no, we didn't call ourselves ghetto mafia, we call ourselves straight cats. And that kind of sounds silly, right?
Right, like I think the group, the song Straight Cat Strut.
Then there was the Westminster Warrior. But this ADA decided to take ghetto mafia and run with that because one of the kids said, no, we call ourselves ghetto mafia. It was a joke. It was a bunch of kids.
That was a rap. There was a rap band. That was Biggie Smalls and Lil Kim and all them. That was, that was where they were.
Right. So, if you spoke to one of these kids who said we were strapped for straight cats, Westminster Warriors, what did you do as a ghetto mafia? They played Monopoly. That's what they did.
You can't even make this up. You can't make this up. Like just hearing it out loud. And again, to me, the most damning thing here is to hear, the guy admitted, I did it. It was only me. It was nobody else. Nobody else was involved. It was just my bullshit. Hey, like that in and of itself says to me, well, we need to have another trial, even if it's just to. And again, I'm playing a little devil's advocate here for a moment. I believe in that, but you got to have another trial, even if it's just to say, was this guy telling the truth or wasn't he? You have that element to it just to kind of clear the air to take this out of it so that no one could say anything.
With trials, there's a lot of evidence, and the lawyer dismantled everything, but the jury came back with guilty because we were shocked. Why would they come back with guilty? And the only thing that we could come up with is that they've been reading the newspapers for too long.
Well, there,
And
and that
that's in the courtroom, everything was legal. But in the tabloids, it was ghetto mafia, killed this kid for $20, killed this kid for sitting on a table, killed this kid for upping the credibility of this so-called gang. So there was a lot of stuff thrown out there. I believe the jury was probably confused and said this kid must be guilty of something. I mean, he is sitting there.
right, he's there. Why wouldn't they?
And ADA lied.
Oh, yeah.
They outright lied.
Well, I mean, you're in politics. You have a goal with politics. You know where you want to get to. You're trying to get to that point. You wouldn't be an ADA. You would be a private attorney if you were really the money itself was your only goal. Because we all know that private attorneys make a heck of a lot more money than a district attorney, especially an assistant district attorney. We're not talking, a district attorney. So we all know how that element works. And I like I said, you always hear me play devil's advocate to all these things. Do you think with all this news coverage that it received for 2 years, why wouldn't John's lawyer have pushed to take it out of the city to an area where people wouldn't have known about it?
Right, that would have been
Right, that would have been my thought.
This is a problem with that. When you want the judge to recuse himself, there is no panel that you could go to say he is biased and he needs to be removed. You got to go to that actual judge and say, "Excuse me, Your Honor, you need to remove yourself because
this is what we feel," and then they can argue and say, "No, I'm good."
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Exactly. You want to laugh? You just brought up the subject. Anissa Nicolazzi bragged for many years, 18 years, that she never lost a case, right? And if she was really that good that she never lost a case, do you think that she was now paying her own practice as a defense?
Right.
You get your practice as a APA,
right. And then you go into the private practice, and that's where they make all their money at because they know how these cases get tried.
Right. But
Or
you
tried,
want
I
to
should
know what she does for a living? She did leave the district attorney's office.
So what's she doing now?
She's a so-called.
I love them all. I love them all.
Is that hilarious? I mean, I have a lot of respect for actors and actresses. That's why I said so-called.
Right, because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, right. You never heard
I've never heard of it. That's like we had all the wrestlers and a lot of the seasoned guys that we have here, a lot of the legends that we have here at the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
It's an art.
They don't love the new guys who are just kind of cutting promos. So we were just joking a minute ago. I can just say I'm a wrestler now. I'm just kind of what's that? I identify as a pro wrestler.
Oh, okay.
They were all kind of joking about that, but sweetheart, this is unbelievable.
18 years, John is suffering. He's now studying. He got accepted into Bard University.
Nice. I know Bard.
He's studying. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not easy because 39 years old and he's got to start shifting gears and get into writing essays.
Oh, yes.
He does have a blog out there.
Tell everybody what it is.
Okay, it is John Juka's blog.
Just like that.
Yeah.
John Juka's blog. There you go.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple.
So he is a phenomenal writer, and I am very proud of him. He's a kind, considerate, compassionate man, and he got caught up in this hell. And like I said, it was election year, and the district attorney at the time needed to make an arrest, needed to get a conviction, and I believe he put Anissa Nicolazzi on the case because she
I love how you say her name, though. I got to tell you, I love how you say her name.
Yeah.
Because I butcher names all the time, and I would butcher her name so bad. I'd have it written down. I'd destroy that name.
Well, spending years without saying it, so we should get it right now, right? She is the one that was able to commit serious physical crimes. I do want to say that Mr. Mark Federer did get a reversal of the conviction back in, I'm going to get the date wrong, but let's say it was 2018, I believe. And what happened was he got the reversal of the conviction based on prosecutorial misconduct.
Okay.
She hid evidence that was exculpatory in nature, hid evidence which was beneficial to my son. And then the higher court, was the DA, Eric Gonzalez, he appealed the decision of the Second Department to the Court of Appeals, and the Chief of Appeals, Janet DiFiore, who recently stepped down, she had reinstated the conviction. And her reason is homeless error. She said, even though Anderson,
Harmless error. The man's in jail for 18 years.
how
Harmless.
was that homeless?
Yeah. Who was that harmless to?
Exactly. She said that even though Anderson Nicolazzi did indeed hide evidence, commit serious misconduct, in the chief judge's opinion, it was harmless. Because, let me go further, because she said there was overwhelming evidence in John's case of his guilt. Now, we were shocked because there wasn't overwhelming evidence. This is not true. She said that the victim had a blanket that came from my house that he was laying on in the street when he was murdered. Yes, he had the blanket because he was in my house the night before at an impromptu gathering. The kids were drinking and smoking and partying. They were 19 years old. And he left with the blanket. And we never denied that. We said, yeah, he left with the blanket because it was drizzling that morning. And he was found dead 3 blocks away. So they zeroed in on my son. Initially, they zeroed in on one of the party goers that left my house with a young woman to go to his house 3 blocks away. That's where the body was. It was laying 50 feet from
The other person's house.
correct. So they came up with these bizarre theories that he was shot in my house and then dragged 3 blocks away. The other one was he was in a van and they drove and dumped him off. And I said, if the kids put him in a van, why just go 3 blocks away? Why not
Right.
go 100 blocks
Yeah. Why
away
would you leave it right there?
in front of one of the party goers? I mean, nothing makes sense. So my son had to used the wife
That
for
doesn't
a
make any
bunch
sense.
of babies. Maybe this, maybe that.
That-
So it's, we've begged over and over again, we give them a fair trial. That will give us the opportunity to prove that we are actually innocent. So we are going to keep fighting. John is suffering.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I've talked to Jeff and Anthony about these things. I just can't even imagine what that's.
Yeah, his whole life is from him. And when a lot of people say, well, he did 18, he should become a host. Hold on a second. 25 to life? That means he has to do 25.
Right.
He can't do, 21, 22. He's got to do
That's the number.
25 or 28 or 31 or 34. And it's just wrong. He's 39 years old now. Like I said, all his 20s and 30s.
Gone.
And the real perpetrator said, I did this.
Did he
John
say
has-
why he did it?
He was robbing him.
Just robbing him.
Robbing Mr. Monkfisher. He was robbing him and he said he fought back and so I shot him.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a horrendous crime.
Right. Nobody's denying that.
And the man who did it is in prison. His name is Antonio Russo, and he belongs in prison. But
And he's in prison probably for a different crime.
no, for that.
Wait, hold on.
He was John's co-defendant.
So he admitted to it.
Right, and he said he did it alone.
Did it alone. He's in jail for it. Said that John had took the whole rap. But yeah, John still.
Yeah.
I'm not a math teacher.
I'm not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
So then you say to yourself, why does the judge, Danny Chun, from Brooklyn Supreme Court, keep denying us? Why? And the only thing I could think of is, well, maybe he thinks John's guilty.
Right.
So, but that's not his job. Okay, his job is to follow the law.
Right.
And there's no argument. John didn't get a fair trial. Judge Chun give John a fair trial. What he did give him was an evidentiary hearing. Now, what did he give this? An evidentiary hearing, so all the evidence could come before him, and then he makes the decision.
Okay.
So, to make the long story really short, when John, I don't know if I can be short with this, I'll try my best.
Do your best.
Okay. So when John got the reversal of the conviction due to prosecutorial misconduct, we were preparing for a new trial because the conviction got thrown out, right? So as we were preparing for the new trial, we get what you call discovery. We get more evidence that comes in. And we had received a tape recording of a second jailhouse informant who said that Antonio Russo confessed to him. So we got this tape and never seen this tape before. Never. So this is beneficial for my son.
Right.
And Addison DiBiase had this tape all along. Never ever
Presented it.
Correct.
So again, holding evidence, keeping it
Right.
withheld that.
Right.
Withholding
Withheld.
evidence.
So we had an evidentiary hearing. Danny Chun allowed us to subpoena people. We had it, and the two defense attorneys, John's defense attorney and Antonio Russo. So we had a Mr. Fink for Russo and a Sam Berger for John. They swore, they took an oath that they never seen this tape recording before, ever. They never received it. And most importantly, Mr. Fink said he has a procedure. He has a practice when he gets this evidence of witnesses, he goes and speaks to them.
Right.
And he didn't do that with this particular guy that was on the tape recording. Therefore, he knows he never received the tape.
Right, because his voice would be.
He would have questioned the guy. He would have interviewed him. And he didn't do that, so therefore he knows he never got this tape. He said, Your Honor, if I got this tape, I wouldn't remember it. Now, John's attorney, that was Mr. Russo's. John's attorney said something similar. He said, I know I did not get this tape recording. Keep in mind, this tape recording, what was on it was so it was beneficial to John because it was the perpetrator confessing.
Right.
Okay? So, he said, Mr. Danny Chun, Your Honor, I did not use this tape. As the evidentiary hearing went on, they both said that they couldn't remember, because keep in mind this trial was in 2005. They couldn't remember what every single witness said. They couldn't say it, verbatim. They don't remember, it's too long ago, but they do remember that it was taken. So now it's the decision time for Danny Chun to make a decision. His decision was, he believed that the two defense attorneys did get the tape. That Madison DiBiase didn't hide anything from them. That they did get the tape because they don't remember what every single witness said. Most likely they got this tape. They just don't remember.
They just.
But now I'm saying this in my own words.
Right. I know, I get it.
I'm not a lawyer. I can't just say it
Yeah,
exactly how.
speak legalese.
Right, I cannot. But that sums it up. And he said, and Nicola testified at this evidentiary hearing, and she said she took all the steps to turn it over. However, she doesn't quite remember if she turned it over. So here is the ADA herself saying she intended. Intended doesn't mean you actually
Right, doesn't mean you did it. I intended to be 6 foot tall. See how that?
So he does. Just, and then I said to Bella, this means Danny Chun favored the prosecutor.
Oh yeah, they're think about that. They all collect their paycheck from the same people. They're all part of the same. Look, I'm not biting the hand that feeds me. We all belong to the same organizations. We go to the same clubs. We're part of the same unions. We're all part of the same deal there. You know, you're from New York. You know how the unions work. I mean, you're all part of the same group.
The tag team.
And I mean, you know, if you're a lawyer and you're a judge, guess what? You're part of the same bar association.
Oh, they know.
I agree with you 1,000%, but that's what I'm saying. And it's not. There's
hundreds of thousands.
what did I say at the beginning? They are traded like stocks. They are a commodity. If you realize that inside of prison systems, uniforms for McDonald's get made in prison system. They pay 22 cents on an hour. They get paid 22 cents an hour, or whatever the number is now. They get paid.
Slave labor.
Exactly. It is a new legalized form of slave labor. Again, remember, you have to serve 85% of your time if you want your federal money. You have to do that. And then if you want any sort of a privilege or freedom or anything, you have to then go and work these jobs at pennies on the dollar, comparably. A lot of these, if you look at the towns they're in, they were manufacturing and textile towns where these prisons get put in, and then these corporate prisons come in and they go, hey, we know that your industry is gone now and everybody needs to work. We'll give you a prison. You guys can all come work in the prison, but what do they do inside of the prison? They do textiles that they ship in the labor. Doesn't make any sense.
They do in the city and Bronx sweeps. They just take a bunch of the kids, throw crimes at them, see what sticks.
Look at.
It's really just like.
I lived in Pennsylvania for years. There was a judge in Pennsylvania who would take kids who get caught with a dime bag of weed and hammer them with the maximum 6 months or a year in juvie. First offense, dime bag of weed. Come to find out, he's now in jail because he was working on kickbacks from the corporate prison in that area. From the kickbacks from the corporate prisons. I'm not saying, folks, I'm not a conspiracy. That's it. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't buy into all of them, but there's a great saying that says, if you don't believe any conspiracy theories, like you think everything's on the up and up, it's there. So we're going to get ready. We're going to close the show up. There's no better way to close my show today than talking to you. Folks, take your time, look into John Juco, look into the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. This goes on every year. This is the second year of doing it. Some phenomenal people out here. The Innocence Project, make sure you reach into that. What is Anthony's? It's the wrestling. It's the right name.
Wrestling for Innocence.
Wrestling for Innocence. Go support Wrestling for Innocence. If you're looking at Mike Falvo, who's standing in front of the camera, Mike doesn't realize he's in front of a camera right now. If you look at that, be nice to Mike. He was in the Air Force. We do our best with those guys. You know, as a Marine, I try to help him out. But make sure you reach out. And since you get to be the last person on today's show, you get the last word. What's the last word? Alrighty, folks. Be sure to push your steel in.
This has been an Earplug Podcast presentation. Found on earplugpodcast.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, and wherever your favorite podcasts are found.